On today's episode, we're answering the question, no, we're not, because I'm on the wrong damn outline.
I mean,
Absolutely. And once you've achieved $100 for a speaking engagement, you know what's possible in the world. It completely changes your perspective. Okay, that was $100. Where will I find other people that have budget who are likely to have allocated funds for this? Not just, oh, maybe I can do this or maybe I can do that. If to use a B2B example, I come off the back of 15, 16 years in corporate life, where I know that within the training and development, learning and development department, there was budget. Within HR, there was budget. Within every single department in the business, there was budget for training. So if you know that that exists, then you can start to think about who the right person is to connect with. So that might be useful for some of your experts who not only have business with consumers, but could also look for these paid opportunities where they're not really looking to sell to the audience, but they're looking to make an arrangement with the business directly, and thinking about where pots of that budget sits is the first step. Are you able to make that connection? And then having your pricing list in place is the very next thing you need to think about.
I think we're going to have to come back to that pricing list. Like, actually, you know what? I want to talk about pricing list because you've mentioned it twice. And I have another question I want to ask, but I have to talk about pricing list. How do we figure out our pricing list? How do we start with that?
Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but the fact is there's no universal speaking pricing list, but there are acceptable kind of norms, if you like, within the industry. So if you're getting paid less than, say, $5,000 for a speaking gig, then anything, really anything goes. I mean, it's what the value that you can show the host that their audience is going to get. And that comes back to really knowing who you are as the expert and coming back to, not so much thinking about negotiations or what can I get out of this, but what problem do you actually solve? And having a look at what that is, what that looks like in meaningful terms for that business or that consumer. So to give you an example, working with a client of mine, a B2B speaking opportunity, a series of workshops. So we were looking specifically at improving their customer engagement through the way that they were speaking, the way that they were communicating with their customers. And some of that involved presentation type skills, right? And so we were looking at, well, what's a successful customer engagement worth to this business? Is it $100? No, it's upwards of six figures. And each and every customer that we're talking about. So once I knew that, and that's part of asking questions and not just being the speaker, but asking good questions and actually listening to the response. And no, that's not a dig at all speakers, but there are some speakers that just love the sound of their own voice and they don't listen very much. And, it's looking at what value does this actually bring to this organization in measurable terms, because we need to speak numbers here. This is not just the fluffy stuff. People will feel good. They'll feel, feeling 100% confident is nothing to sniff at. But if I know that this is getting passed up the line and getting approved by people that are just looking at numbers and return on investment deliverables, then I need to speak their language. So finding out what this means in meaningful terms for a business, for example, if they're earning millions of pounds or dollars off the back of the work that this training and, off the back of the work of this training, then you can look at a very small percentage of that and say, well, is it worth this to you? Is it worth 10, 20, 30, 40, and figure out where you can land with that.
I really like how you're going in not just as I'm a speaker, I get on a stage and I deliver a canned present. I'm looking at your business. So you're coming to it not just from a speaker perspective, but a strategist and a coach perspective, using your expertise to deliver results. And what I'm hearing is there are really two models that you can use. Use a stage to get leads from the audience, or sell to the stage itself. So you're selling to the audience or selling to the stage. Either way, you can get paid for it. But am I correct in that those are pretty much the two models we're looking at?
Yeah, so instead of being paid to speak, I like to encourage people to think about being paid because they speak. So there are so many, and I've got 13 plus different methods in my program that people get paid because they use speaking as part of their overall strategy. So looking at where a talk, a signature talk, or a podcast tour, and other methods that will actually meet their business goals. So not looking at it in isolation, which is what people often do. Oh, I see myself on stage. Why? Well, I kind of like the feel of the spotlight, or it's been one of my greatest fears and I want to overcome that. People have all different motivations for wanting to speak. So it's looking at the bigger picture. And I think that that's essential when you're looking at including speaking in your strategy overall, because it does take, it's not hard work, but it does take some time, consideration, bravery for some people, overcoming fears, those sorts of things. And it's not just getting up on stage, it's how you market yourself as a speaker, the business of speaking as well.
So all right, what are some best practices to really begin getting paid because we speak? So you mentioned inviting them to connect with you, or pitching from the stage, or offering them some resources, but what are some really good strategies to get these leads and clients from our stage experience?
So the first thing is that you have to have developed a signature talk. You have to go in with a really well-refined message that is super valuable. It's not just fluff. It's not just veiled pitching, right? This is our opportunity to do better from the stage. So really going in and making sure that you are delivering on what is essentially a promise at the beginning of your talk. You're delivering against that. You're then also, every single talk that you go in, you want to know exactly where this is leading to. So what is your offer? So that there is no chance to make this optional. The offer could be connections, it could be resources, it could be selling your offer. But the fact is, you have to have that objective, because if this is part of making money for your business, you have to directly relate it to the offers within your business, not just talking about things that have a loose connection to the way in which you help people specifically in your unique way.
I'm furiously taking notes and then realize that I'm supposed to speak. So whoopsie-daisies. All right. I have a really cool question. This wasn't originally one of the questions I had, but I've gone off script like twice today and I'm okay with it. Should we be making a speaker reel page? Should there be a page on our website, or should there be a page that we have somewhere that says how we, like what we do and what past podcasts we've been on or summits, and how do we market ourselves? Like, how do we go, hey, I'm available, come hire me or come find me? How do we make that happen?
Absolutely, yes. You want to be discovered as a speaker. You want to position yourself as a speaker, even if, so, step number one on your bio on social media, add speaker. Like, if you do nothing else, let people know. If you have a really cool comment that you make online, or they find you, they can see some evidence that you are a speaker. So that means thinking about your speaking brand. So who you are as a speaker, that might be slightly different to how you market yourself as a business, and making sure that there is discoverable, searchable content, even if it's a Facebook Live, even if it's a video on social media somewhere or on your website, so that people can see evidence. And all this is doing is ticking a few of those resistance boxes that hosts might have. Hey, I really like the sound of this, or this person's pitched me, who the heck are they? And they go and check you out. Even if you're starting from zero, you can do very small things that position you as a speaker. So if you have been on podcasts, make sure that you are sharing that on social media, that you are firstly helping the hosts out, so that you're doing your part for being a great guest as well. But equally, so it's searchable. So if you are pitching people, if you are making connections, they think, wow, I really like that person, your perspective on things, they can come and find more about you. And video is the number one way to do that. They can hear your personality, your tone of voice, your silly accent like mine, which doesn't know which country it belongs to. I mean, they can hear that and immediately they build much more rapport with you as a person because they've seen and heard you.
I really like what you said. And I know that there are a lot of different places that you can put your speaker sheet and be in directories. And I definitely take advantage of most of those simply because I want to be found where people are looking for podcast guests and experts and things like that. But putting it in social, and I know before we recorded this interview today, you put a post out that said, hey, I'm super excited to do this today. And it was simple, but Jenny and I were like, yay, we didn't, and you tagged us in it. And it's really simple, like you said, but it up levels your profile as a speaker. And it makes us feel good as hosts to have that support. So it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, and I think, like, I know Jenny and I spoke about this on the summit. We're people connecting with people. We want to do business. Go find Daddy. It's Daddy. Go find Daddy. Woosah. We're people connecting with people. Do what you would do if you met someone in person. Don't be a weirdo. If you're genuinely excited, share that excitement and be a good guest. So think about what you can do to elevate the profile of your host, to share your excitement. But also, I mean, some of this serves my business as well as a speaker to show that it's really simple. It doesn't have to be like a bunch of really over-engineered posts or something. Share that you're excited. And also, going back to the previous point about looking and sounding like a speaker, talking about a podcast that you're about to record looks and sounds like something a speaker would do, right? So it all kind of works together. It is a win-win.
I want to come back to the whole from stage experience because Jenny kind of got us off on a really good tangent, but now I want to bring it back. Pitching from stage when we're selling something, or even if we're just pitching a lead magnet, how do we do that in a way that doesn't feel salesy and sleazy and scammy and all those things?
That is the number one thing after getting the signature talk content, right? That is the number one thing I work on with people. It's their confidence and its structure. So the first thing is that when you are selling from the stage, you have to make an offer that is a natural next step to what you're talking about. So it has to be totally congruent. So that firstly, you know that if someone has got the challenges that you've been talking about in your talk, if they could potentially benefit from the solutions that you've presented for those challenges, then of course they're going to want to know, what is the next thing that happens? If I know this is my problem, if I know that that sounds like the thing I want to do, how do I do that? And so including parts of your process in your talks are a great way, A, to build credibility with your listeners, but B, to actually show them what change could look like, what transformation could look like, what your solution could do for them. So that by the time you get to the part of your talk where you are sharing your offer, if you are making a direct offer, you want to zoom out and simply say, okay, today we have talked about the specific challenges related to X. And what I'm going to share with you, let's zoom out for a second and just realize that this is just one part of the bigger picture. And that's where you talk about your process. How do you actually work with people? Now, I looked at your landing page for your amazing session that you offer people, and I was looking at your process there, and you could zoom in on any one of those pieces, whether it's done for you content, whether it's actually providing a strategy, not just a call, and really dig into what problem you solve with that particular call. But then you want to zoom back out again and say, hey, listen, this is the actual process that needs to occur for this change to be long lasting, for it actually to solve the problem. So I'd suggest thinking less about selling stuff and more about helping people know what a natural next step would be if they have identified with what you've spoken about during your talk.